On the phone with us right now. Yeah. Special guest. We've tried to get on now for about a year and a half.
Yeah.
Actually, no, we haven't. Actually, my mentor, too, back in the early 80s.
Well, I got a lot of questions for you.
I give you Buzz Knight.
Hey, Buzz.
Buzzy.
Hey, guys. How's everything?
Everything's fantastic. You were one of the first names that came up when we decided to do this I-95 alumni interview series, and I've heard so much about you. I want to hear you and Ethan kick it back and forth talking about the old days.
You know what sticks out in my mind?
Did I work there at one point?
Yeah, early in your career, before you went on to, management status.
Yeah, it's all a foggy memory, but no, this was a tremendous time. And I'm sure there's probably 3 of your listeners that might have remembered back then. But I think fondly of the time there, and I'm so glad that Ethan Carey did not become Willie Dino.
A name we kicked around for me.
Sure, yeah. I did a polite laugh because I had no idea what the hell you guys were talking about.
Yeah. When Buzz was...
Whose idea was that? Was that your idea?
It might have been.
Yeah, it might have been our late general manager at the time,
yes,
who was a dear mentor as well, Chris Cajano, but
yes,
we won't blame that on him because he can't defend himself. So.
Well, he hired me, so... He
hired me as well.
That's right.
He hired me as well.
Do you know that when Buzz was here, my oldest son, Matt, was what? He was, 2 or 3, 4 years old?
He was just born, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember when he was born.
Buzz had this character called Mr. Baloney that Matt used to love.
That's fun.
Did he? How much therapy did that cost you for Matt the years later?
Thanks for asking, but a lot. Are you happy?
Yeah, no, I'm not. I'm very. I have to pay you back for that. So, but no, it's so great to be talking to you guys. So, has anybody managed to talk you out of this?
No, everybody's been rushing. When is my segment? When is my segment? Everybody wants more time. Yeah. Typical radio guys. They want an hour and 10 minutes. Who was the?
Well, I'm no exception. I would like more than 15 minutes. I've been already through my people bargaining with Ethan, but to no avail.
You got an open seat in the studio anytime you want to come by.
Well, he lives in. Where do you live in? Boston. You're in Boston, right?
I live outside of Boston.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was just in Needham last weekend.
There you go. See, it probably no traffic whatsoever, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I said Needham. I don't even want them. Let's get the hell out of here.
Okay.
All right. That was just low-hanging fruit.
If you had to pick a couple of highlight moments from when you were here, if you can remember, what might they be?
Oh man, there's so many of them.
I know.
It was such a great time to be innocent and foolish and not have to worry about lawyers clamping down on bits we tried to do, and we were young and stupid, but so many things I could think of. So many of the interviews, first of all, that occurred as a result of I-95's relationship with this place called the Treehouse Comedy Club in Westport, which my understanding is I don't think it survived the pandemic, but we had so much fun with a endless list of great comedians that came on the air, from Jay Leno to Jerry Seinfeld to Stephen Wright, and just an endless loop of people. So that was really a joy to sort of witness. This was before so many of them really, hit the big time.
Right.
And I think also about the ability to be spontaneous and just decide to go do something because we thought we just wanted to. So that included when the Danbury State Fair ceased to exist. Somebody had the brilliant idea that we would manufacture our own version of the State Fair as if it were happening, of course, with sound effects and background. That was the brilliant mind of certainly Jim Schultz behind that as well. And we just crafted this Theater of the Mind event, and I think a few people probably thought the fair was actually still going on.
I'm sure somebody
and those moments of theater of the mind, planned spontaneity, I think that's something that was a rare moment of that time.
One of my situations, well, not my situation, yours, that I remember very vividly is when you became the human calzone.
There you go. Inspired by the great David Letterman, and the opportunity to make a fool of myself in a store window in a pizza joint in Danbury, Connecticut. Wouldn't have it any other way, baby.
And connecting with that, didn't you hop a plane to Chicago? We were talking about pizza, and you hopped a plane to Chicago to try the deep dish pizza in Chicago?
Yeah, we took listeners. We just decided last minute to, we went into a Pizza Wars conversation, and we tried to, what are the best pizzas around, and got the audience to talk about that. And lo and behold, we decided, all right, well, the next day, let's take a couple of listeners to Chicago for the day, literally the day, to fly in, to have some deep dish, and then to fly back the same day, which we did. And the fun part about that bit was we calculated the next day the price per slice of pizza based on the air cost and everything. And I think each slice topped that at about $500. So it was
reasonable.
Well worth it.
Yes, reasonable.
Buzz Knight joining the show, part of the I-95 alumni interview series. Buzz, with you, and then you got Ethan, guys like Jim Schultz that we always hear about, Tom Zarecki, all these names that you guys kick around. I wonder, as someone who holds the history of this place near and dear to my heart and has great amount of respect for all you guys did, even though you were young, did you have philosophical type conversations about the goal you were all trying to meet? What were you trying to do, or was it accidental?
I think a lot of it was accidental and serendipitous for sure. Look, I think one of the things that was a goal certainly of mine and everybody who worked there was we knew we were in the shadow of New York City, and we knew by being in the shadow of New York City that the entertainment bar had to be raised pretty darn high, because New York radio obviously brought that on in so many levels. So we just aspired to be this little station that could, and that tried to do cool things and match what was coming out of a big city. As far as where the rest of the aspirations went as individuals, I can't speak for everybody else. I certainly eventually reached a point in time where I wanted to move to another market, and from Connecticut moved ultimately to Columbus, Ohio, and programmed and was on the air there for a few years. So I think sometimes you just get itchy and want to get another challenge, and that's where my head was at.
Yeah. See, my head's never been there.
I was going to ask you if you could kind of in a couple of sentences explain to people, you mentioned the Ohio thing. Where is your career now, and where else did it take you?
So my career went from Columbus, Ohio, to be a programmer and on air, and then eventually just a programmer. It took me to Norfolk, Virginia as a programmer at a rock station. Ultimately took me to Boston in early '92, where I was a programmer there and a format captain for Infinity and CBS. And from there, really, the corporate programming piece elevated. It elevated further for a company called Greater Media and then one called Beasley. Now I do some consulting work, talent coaching work, but I'm really focused on a podcast, which is something called Taking a Walk. And Taking a Walk is a podcast where I walk with interesting people at cool locations, everybody from musicians to authors and anybody else that I could con into taking a walk.
On-air personalities, particularly in this medium, don't like to be told what to do or what they could do better. Everyone thinks they know everything and has a massive ego in this business. Who was the most difficult on-air personality you ever dealt with as a consultant?
Most difficult? Well, I think, look, the sports format brings great passion. So there's some sports personalities who I worked with that they brought great content, but they also came with it a mind of their own. And that's part of what drives them and makes them really good. The reason that they're good is because they're passionate and they're not afraid to give you an opinion and push back. But I ultimately learned that my role was to try to give everybody a chance to succeed, try to give them the tools to succeed, and then if they brought it every day, my job was then to get out of their way. And hopefully I've done that through my career.
Back in the day, where would we have found Ethan? You're walking around, you're starting your day here at I-95 for the day. If you wanted to find Ethan, where was he and who was he with?
Well, listen, he was like he is now. He was, gregarious and friendly to everybody. He was one of the first talent in the business that I saw wore a man purse. He'd come in with his man purse, and he'd have his notes for the day. I suspect really there were no notes in there. It was just his lunch. But he was a diplomat around the building. Everybody loved Ethan, and everybody loves Ethan now, I'm sure.
It's funny you mentioned the man purse. I just bought a new one.
See?
Some things never change.
Now, did you get rid of the old one? And when did you get rid of the old one?
No, the old one was all scuffed up and dirty. I had to toss it.
He just got one.
You were a first in that regard.
Yes. I was a pioneer, if you will. You started on the air, of course, and you moved eventually into a management, for the challenges. What did you like, not considering not the money involved, but which was more passionate for you?
Well, listen, the on-air, I love and loved and still love. That's probably what drew me back to the podcast that I was referencing. So at its heart, I love talent, and I love being associated with creating stuff as talent does. And they're both very different. The programming role or the corporate role, we were fortunate to have some tremendous victories and some tremendous teams that built these amazing brands across the country, radio stations such as WMMR in Philadelphia, WRIF in Detroit. These were at the top tier and still are at the top tier of rock radio. So I enjoy the team and the collaboration, and very different than the on-air piece, because the on-air piece can be very oddly solo, if you will, right? You're talking into a microphone, you're communicating with the audience, but you're pretty much your own entity. So both very different, and love them both. Talking
to Buzz, we're going to let him go here in a second. One last question from me. If anybody's thinking about getting into this business, what advice would you give them? Not to?
Well, no, I would encourage them to be media specialists rather than just radio specialists. So I would encourage them to be great at audio, great at video, great at social media skills, great at writing. So that would mean they weren't putting their eggs all in one basket. I wouldn't put my eggs in any one basket these days. I'd be as multifaceted and dynamic as I could be. So I became as, in demand from many different types of companies, not just radio. Radio's still a great business. It's now under different sense of challenges, but we do need the next generation to come through the door for sure, even though we need the Ethan Careys of the world to not go away as well.
Buzz Knight, I know you joked at the beginning of the interview that nobody cares about Utah. Absolutely, nothing could be further from the truth. The history of this station is a passion for our listeners who are always asking, where's so-and-so? And your name has come up time and again. So that's why we wanted to do this. alumni series, and I got a massive amount of respect for what you guys built here, and we appreciate you coming on.
Thank you, Buzz. It was it's wonderful.
You're very kind, and it's an honor, and I'll be knocking at the door for an overnight shift whenever you'll have me.
Oh, hit that podcast one more time. Plug that again for us.
Yeah.
Taking a Walk is the name of the podcast. TakinAWalk.com. TAKIN. A walk, all one word, available at Apple, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcast.
There you go. Ladies and gentlemen, my mentor back in the early 80s, Buzz Knight. Thanks, Buzz.
Thank you,
really
Buzz.
appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Ethan.
See you later. Bye.